Hey everyone, Tim Royers here, your NSEA President. The legislature has now adjourned Sine Die. So with the session done and over and behind us, we thought it would be a good idea to give you a summary of all the major things that have happened over the last 4 months. Now, in my previous videos, you heard from me right here in my office. But today, we thought it'd be a good idea to remind you all just how close our office is to all the action happening across the street in the Capitol. So today, we're going to take a quick little field trip over there and go over everything that happened this legislative session. Remember, the legislature operates on a biennium. That means that every bill from last year that didn't pass was automatically rolled over for consideration again this year. And on top of all of those old bills, they introduced 546 new bills this year, in addition to 12 new proposed constitutional amendments. Each one of those bills and proposed constitutional amendments needed to have a hearing in rooms just like this one. And thankfully, we've got some good numbers to share about that process. We had 13 different members testify at hearings this session, making sure that educators' voices were at the front and center of every policy that was considered. And if a bill happens to make it out of committee and advance to general file, we'd be right down there in the rotunda talking with senators and other organizations. In this critical process, it wasn't just me and our lobby team doing all the heavy lifting. We made sure that members stayed actively involved too. And for those of you who couldn't make it to be here personally to use your voice, you still played a vital part. Over the course of this session, more than 6,200 emails were sent to state senators and the governor's office. So how did things go the past few months when bills made it into there? Well, first, let's talk about what we were able to stop. The bill that would have mandated that students repeat third grade died on a filibuster in the last full week of debate. We tried to work with the senators on turning this into a good reading bill, but most weren't interested. If you want an idea of just how stubborn many of them were, school leaders even said they would back off their opposition if the legislature simply added the words "the option of" in front of retention. But they were so adamant on the mandatory retention piece that they refused even that level of compromise. So thankfully, that bill died. We also stopped a really bad plan to change how we serve youth in our correction system. Thanks in large part to the excellent testimony of our members from YRTC Kearney, the Health and Human Services Committee amended their own package bill to remove the facilities change before it could even advance. We were proud to be a part of the press conference and stand united with a coalition of organizations against this change. And finally, we stopped vouchers again. Let's be clear, even though they claimed that this was one-time gap funding, this was all about getting their foot in the door so they could introduce a larger, permanent voucher plan next year. And the reason they were so desperate to do this is because they thought that if they got it in the budget this year, it would make it impossible to put that future voucher program on the ballot like we did with the last one. Those were all big accomplishments. Yet, if all we did was stop bad ideas, we wouldn't be doing right by you as members or the students that we serve. Even in the toughest conditions, we still need to be able to deliver and move the profession forward, even a little bit. Thankfully, we've got some good wins to celebrate as well. Senator Roundtree got Resolution 422 to pass 47-0, and now the legislature is officially calling on Congress to fully fund IDEA. If you don't know, Congress is supposed to cover 40% of all special education expenses, yet they currently cover less than 15%, which means money that could be going to other programs and staff at the state and local level instead has to be used to make up for the federal shortfall. Senator Leneski was able to get LB 824 signed into law. Up until now, retirees had to sit out for 180 days after they retire, with some allowed intermittent service, before they can come back and long-term sub, for example. Now, thanks to LB 824, we've got that cut down by 60 days to only 120. It is a hard break in service now. There's no longer any intermittent kind that's permitted, but we've taken 2 months off that wait time. Senator Ballard got LB 820 done, which included a critical fix to how the cost of living adjustments are handled for our retirees under the OSERS or Omaha retirement system. This bill was based on action at last year's delegate assembly, so this is a great example of your voice in action. Back in the winter, we had a roundtable with some of our higher education members. One of the concerns that came up is that it is way harder to get the data that they need to negotiate at the college and university level compared to the data that we are used to getting in our PK through 12 school districts. Senator John Kavanaugh got LB 956 into law, which requires our higher ed institutions to share that critical information. Although this next one wasn't an NSEA bill, we still need to give a shout out to Senator Michaela Kavanaugh for getting LB 966 passed. For the next 5 years, funded through private donors, the cost of a reduced price meal at school is now fully covered. Instead, those families gain access to free school meals, which is a huge win in better serving our kids. And finally, thanks to Senator Royers, we were able to fix the timing so that beginning after this summer, any adjustments to the contribution rate for folks in the NPERS retirement system will take effect in September, better aligning with your updated paychecks at the start of a new contract year. And speaking of that, even though what I'm about to say is based on a bill that we got done last year, this is a good time to remind everybody that because our NPERS plan is now above 100% funded, if you are a part of that retirement system, you'll see a bump in your take-home pay again this July as it goes down to the lowest contribution rate.
So, despite the challenges of this session, we were still able to get several good bills over the finish line, and each and every one of you helped make that happen. But unfortunately, we also had several of our bills that didn't go the distance, and that's obviously disappointing. And at the top of that list was our organization's biggest priority, LB 440 with Senator Spivey, which would have provided paid family medical leave for educators. But you as the membership have been very clear where you stand on this issue. When we did our survey back in the fall, more than 80% of you said you want us to keep fighting until we deliver paid family medical leave for educators, and that's exactly what we intend to do. So we'll be back in 2027 with a new version of the bill to deliver paid family medical leave for educators. But we'll also be reminding those folks inside that in our state, the people are the second house. So if they don't deliver for you in the Capitol, well, you know, we've got a pretty good track record of getting things on the ballot, and maybe it's time to have a pro-public education initiative for the 2028 election.
So that's our Sine Die summary. Thanks so much for all of you that care about making our public schools the best they can be in this state. We're already preparing for next session with 3 different legislative studies coming up this summer and fall. One on higher education and laboratory hours with Senator Quick, one on how we screen kids for reading issues with Senator Hughes, and one on educator burnout with Senator Royers. If those topics interest you, keep an eye on your email inbox for opportunities to get involved. In the meantime, we're proud to keep pushing this work forward together with you all. On behalf of our leadership team, thank you everyone.